All right, so the big news of the day we learned on Friday morning is that Hollywood Brown is going to have a second surgery to repair his injured SC joint in his shoulder area. And this is going to take a significant amount of time before he can come back. There are some concerns out there that he might not even play a snap for the Chiefs, which is very unfortunate. He just played one snap in a Chiefs uniform, and that was a preseason game. So that is the unfortunate part here. So how did this all happen? How did we get to this point? Why did this not get picked up sooner by the athletic trainers and the doctors? Well, we learned today that team doctors realized Hollywood Brown's injury recovery was not going as planned and that he has to have a second surgery. He's going to have it Monday in Colorado. Why did they not realize this sooner? We have no idea. And that is the big question right now, because Andy Reid said on Monday when he was asked about Hollywood Brown, who's the only player that had not been practicing on the active main roster, kept telling us that Hollywood Brown is, quote, getting close, and that he's getting closer and closer to coming back. So a lot of people felt pretty good. They thought there was a chance he could play this Sunday against the Bengals. If not, it would feel almost like a guarantee that he would play the following week, Sunday night, against the Falcons. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, this has been a common issue. This has been going on for quite some time now. If you guys remember with Mecole Hardman in 2022, dealt with an injury then. I believe it was an abdominal injury or of some sort, or a pelvis injury. I don't remember exactly which one, but people were kind of confused because he was placed on IR, and the Chiefs activated his 21-day window, which players on IR are allowed to practice, but he was not participating in practice. And people kind of wondered, as we got closer and closer to the 21st day, is this a possibility? Is Mecole Hardman going to come back, or is he done for the season? And the Chiefs did not put him on the active main roster until day 21 and literally the 11th hour of that whole situation. That was kind of weird. We have another incident. Eric Berry, if you guys remember, in 2018. In 2017, week one against the Patriots, when the Chiefs went into Banner Night in Foxborough and pulled off a big upset that night, Berry ruptured his Achilles against the Patriots and was unfortunately done for the year. A year later, while trying to recover and get back to the playing field in 2018, he was dealing with a sore heel, and we later learned that there was a bone spur that kept digging into the Achilles, causing serious pain, so that's why he was not playing for quite some time. But what did Andy Reid tell the media? He's day-to-day. Well, if you're going to say that about someone who's, going into the season, that he's day-to-day, you're thinking, okay, it's not going to take that long. It's for sure he's going to play at some point in the first quarter of the season, and that was not the case at all, as Eric Berry did not make his 2018 season debut until week 15. So that was kind of weird how that all unfolded. I think my point with all of this is when you look at the NFLPA report card, which we've had two of those so far, and the two times we've had that, the Chiefs have not performed very well in the NFLPA report card. Now, I know as fans, a lot of people might say, well, who cares? We won the Super Bowl. Sure. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, great. The Chiefs have won the Super Bowl both years where the NFLPA report card has been a thing, and unfortunately, the Chiefs have not done very well in that. But we do care about these players. A lot of these guys are fan favorites, and we want them to be treated well. We've seen Clark Hunt have a failing grade both times, but the surprise, the first year we saw the NFLPA report card, that was in the 2023 offseason. We saw that the athletic training staff received an F, and a lot of people were surprised by this because we've heard nothing but great things about Rick Burkholder over the years. From the media, fans, the teams, coaches, like everyone has nothing but great things to say about Rick Burkholder. His staff received a lot of credit for how they treated Patrick Mahomes' ankle when he suffered that injury during the 2022 playoff run. And when you look at everything that has transpired with Eric Berry, with Mecole Hardman, and now Hollywood Brown, I think there's a valid reason to kind of question what exactly is going on here. Because, again, when you want to look at the players' side of things, and as much as, we as fans like seeing these championships, we want these players to be treated well. And if they're treated well, they're probably going to want to stick around. The more we see these NFLPA report cards, if a player is considering a free agent I'm referring to, is considering Kansas City, they might go and take the time with their agent to look at the NFLPA report card. And if they see these bad grades, especially with the training staff, the ownership, whatever else out there, that might force them to kind of shy away from Kansas City. And that's not something you want here. Hollywood Brown did sign a 1-year deal, and that's very important. I'll get to that later. Hopefully something like this does not make Hollywood Brown want to leave and not reconsider coming back. And again, I think that is kind of important. We'll get to that shortly here, but someone's got to ask the question. And I don't know if the media is going to do that, but if you're Clark Hunt, if you're the owner of this team, I think there's a valid question to ask here, because Hollywood Brown was the biggest free agent acquisition of the season. And we all know the story with the wide receivers last year and what happened. Hollywood Brown and eventually Xavier Worthy, who the Chiefs went on to draft, which looks like a very smart move right now, considering what's going on with Hollywood Brown. A lot of people thought that this is going to be the turning point. And, it's still early. Rashee Rice is playing like a veteran receiver coming off that rookie year he had last year, definitely playing much better. Xavier Worthy, so far so good. We definitely want to see more of him, though, more than 3 touches. But as far as, with everything with the training staff and Hollywood Brown, this is kind of confusing to a lot of people. And hopefully something like this does not make Hollywood want to not come back and go elsewhere, because the more this happens, I think veterans out there, whenever they're free agents and they have an opportunity to go to a championship team, if they see these kinds of things, if they see this pattern that's developing, it might make them not want to come back here. And I think that's a valid concern. As far as Hollywood in terms of on the field, could he come back this season? Maybe. Some reports out there are saying that he could be out for at least 3 months. And if that's the case, that means he might not come back until Christmas. And at that point, he would be needing to get his feet wet, because even though, OTAs and training camp, all of the offseason training, that stuff is nice, but it's a whole different ballgame, getting reps in the offseason versus getting reps in an actual regular season game. And Hollywood and Mahomes have not had a chance to be able to build that regular season rapport yet. And that can definitely take a little bit of time. So to come back that late in the season, either, in the regular season or in the playoffs, might not be the most ideal time to come back and try to get acclimated with the offense. That would be a concern of mine if he were to come back late. Now, again, there's some concern out there by the national media that there's a possibility that he might miss all of this season. And if that's the case, what happens then? Because he just signed a 1-year deal. It was a 1-year prove-it deal, I believe, for $8 million. He did say he had an opportunity to get more money elsewhere, but he wanted to come to Kansas City and play with Patrick Mahomes, play under Andy Reid, and all of that stuff, which is good to see for sure. But what do you do after that? Do you bring back Hollywood Brown? Is there a reason why the Chiefs should give him one more chance? My answer to that is yes. Short term, with everything this season, obviously, like I said earlier, the Xavier draft pick selection certainly looks like a much smarter choice now. Definitely a good look that you brought back Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster, for sure. That is very key for this offense. Guys who are very familiar with Patrick Mahomes and have won championships with him in the past, for sure. But as far as long-term here, look, again, I know what I said a moment ago about how, off-season OTAs and training camp reps are not the same as regular season reps, but we've seen a lot of great things in practice from Hollywood Brown and Patrick Mahomes and what they were able to create in the offseason together. Unfortunately, we only saw it for one preseason snap, literally just one snap, the very first snap of the game. But Hollywood's got a pretty good idea of what Mahomes wants. So maybe there's a good reason to bring him back and try to see if you can get that development to continue into 2025. I know Chiefs fans do not care about this long term because we're going into week 2, but when it comes to something like this, Brett Veach, this is something he's got to think about. Don't have to make a decision on this exact moment, but when it gets closer and closer to the offseason, that is something for sure you got to think about if you're Brett Veach. Another thing to keep in mind, and I know there are a lot of opinions about Rashee Rice and him being available to play right now, but if you've listened to what the NFL's had to say, they've made it very clear that they're letting the legal process play out. And there is a very strong possibility that Rashee Rice will start the 2025 season with a suspension. How many games? We don't know exactly. It could be anywhere from 4 to 8 games. So when you look at that situation right there, Xavier Worthy, that's a guy who is going to be returning on your team, obviously, just being a draft selection this past year. And if you have Hollywood Brown back, you could have those two guys, and hopefully, everyone stays healthy to start off the season while Rashee Rice is serving his suspension to start off the 2025 season. Again, I'm just speculating. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, when the suspension is going to be handed out, how many games. We don't know all of that, but it's very likely that Rashee Rice starts the 2025 season away from the organization to serve his suspension for the first few however many games. So I do think it's worth giving him one more opportunity, not just because of the Rashee Rice potential suspension to start off 2025, but I think with the skill set that he has and what he brings to the table and the development and the connection he built with Patrick Mahomes this offseason, I think you got to give it one more opportunity here. Again, hopefully his recovery goes well, and hopefully he does have an opportunity to play this year. But man, it is a big blow, and this is not something anybody wanted to hear. As both Hollywood and Xavier Worthy, they've got tremendous speed, and they can burn a defense, any defense in the NFL. So this is definitely going to hurt for the Chiefs. But keep one thing in mind. Last year, the Chiefs did not have this vertical threat. They hardly had a threat at wide receiver. Rashee Rice was your best receiver, but his development took a little bit of time, and he was a rookie last year. And even in the playoffs, he still struggled with some things in terms of drops and fumbles. Ball security was an issue all year long. Got a little bit better in the postseason, but even without that vertical threat, the Chiefs, despite all of the struggles and all of the drops last year, they found a way to win games. So even though this is a huge blow and something that nobody wanted to hear, I still have a lot of confidence that this Chiefs team is going to get the job done with or without Hollywood Brown this year.